Our interview process is kind of robust. We hire a lot from campus.
In today's world, everyone's like in so much dilemma of whether they should take a career break. How would that look on the resume? Will they get a job later?
So as long as you keep learning and evolving yourself, then you'll stay relevant in the market.
500 plus hiring, 700 plus hiring in the last year.
Right.
That's a huge number for any company to absorb in a particular year.
Attrition is here to stay. There will always be attrition.
Masters Degree in Business School, based in Gurgaon, we bridge the gap between the industry and the students, by conducting a lot of CXO sessions. And as a part of this initiative, in today's edition of CHRO Exchange, we're very happy to welcome Ms. Flory Morris, who is the head HRBP at the Math Company. Very welcome to today's edition of CHRO Exchange.
Thank you.
Flory. So Flory, your journey has been nothing short of fantastic, right? 20 plus years in the industry, spanning across different kind of roles, right? I understand you started as in the recruitment space, evolved yourself as a talent management specialist, and now you are at this, coveted leadership position. So just want to understand how has been your journey like, what are the different lessons you've learned in your life, and what made you reach here, and what's next?
Yeah. Firstly, thank you for having me here. To talk about my journey, let me start from the beginning, right? As a young graduate, like every other graduate, even I was wondering, what is my groove? Where do I start? And lucky enough for me, I got into the recruitment space, and something that I love doing because I am a people's person, and I love talking to a lot of people, understanding what their career needs are, how they want to pivot their career, and helping them achieve those career goals, right? Over a period of time, which is like 8 years into recruitment and executive search, I wanted to do a little beyond recruitment. And that's when I got into the HR operations, function here at MathCo. But then before I joined MathCo, I have a very, very long self-imposed time off from work, which I call it probably sabbatical is the right word to use. When I say a very long break, a break of 7 years is what I took just to enjoy motherhood the second time. Once I joined MathCo, after that long break, thanks to the founders at Math Company who believed in me for an entirely new role that I was, going to kind of experiment with, something that I've not done at all. They kind of believed in me. They gave me the flexibility that I needed in the initial days because I was getting back into my career after 7-year long break. That kind of helped me to settle down. And of course, the supportive colleagues that I had back then, they were there to kind of guide me through and keep me interested in what I was doing. So that support meant a lot. And the continuous learning and mentorship that I got from my colleagues, peers, and the co-founders in itself, I think helped me to kind of get this far. I'm going to be completing 8 years at MathCo. And heading this function today, I feel grateful for my family who supported me all through this journey, and of course, like I mentioned, people around at work as well. So yeah, really, really happy.
Very fantastic to hear. I think two key takeaways from me over here would be first, in today's world, everyone's like in so much dilemma of whether they should take a career break. How would that look on the resume? Will they get a job later? And I think you took a extended break, 7 years, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then, someone trusted you.
Yes.
Someone gave you an offer as an 8th employee of the company.
Absolutely.
And now you're completing 8 years.
Yes.
Right? So I think a lot of the listeners who would be listening to this would be super pleased to know that, acceptance for such things are there in the market, right?
Absolutely.
And that's a key takeaway for me as well, personally. So also very, very pleasing to know about your journey, wherein you touched upon recruitment, executive search, operations, very comprehensive journey of it. Now, from here going forward, how do you see yourself, what kind of role do you see yourself taking up, or what is the plan for you?
Oh yeah, though I head this function, the HRBP function at MathCo, there's still lots to learn because people, function is never easy. There's so much to unravel. There's so much more to be done in this very, segment. I'm looking forward to all of those learning, those findings, and experimenting with ideas and coming up with something new that's going to help the employees. So that's something that I'm looking forward to.
All the best, Flory, for your future endeavors. Maybe I would also want to check now, since you've been with the organization 8 years, you have seen the baby grow, right? And also, while we were at the backstage, we were talking about numbers. I mean, 500 plus hiring, 700 plus hiring in the last year.
Right.
That's a huge number for any company to absorb in a particular year, right? And especially for someone who's just 8-year-old, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think 2 questions I have here for you is, first, how have you seen the kind of industry, so industry in which the math company operates, growing? Mm-hmm. And what are the different strategies, techniques, you kind of deploy to kind of get the best of the best talent and, and a massive pool like 500 plus.
Right.
So these 2 questions is something I would be keen to know.
I'll take the first one first. The data industry is constantly growing, right? Businesses today, understand the importance of, studying their data, studying the trends, customer sentiments. And that is why, any analytics organization or any company that has got anything to do with data is here to stay, as long as they keep evolving with the requirements of the market. To the second question on how we kind of support this kind of a growth with our, onboarding good talent into MathCo, our interview process is kind of robust. We hire a lot from campuses across India, and we choose the best. They go through a rigorous 2-3 rounds of interviews and GDs and aptitude tests, etc. And then we onboard them. The one thing that we kind of look for is the aptitude to learn, right? And if you have that aptitude, we believe that we can teach you what data science, what engineering, what Gen AI, has to offer, right? If you have the ability to kind of imbibe those learnings, then we are here to teach you. We have a very robust L&D department called Coach. They kind of onboard people and train them for the first 4.5 months, through of course classroom trainings, mentorship programs, capstones, assessments, and then get you ready to kind of face customers. The organization that MathCo is, we don't believe in hierarchies, in the sense people at any level, if they are ambitious and they want to kind of face the customer, we do allow them to face the customer right from day one, if they're ready, that is. So that's the exposure that we kind of give to people in terms of learning and opportunities as well.
That's a fantastic opportunity for any consultant, who's, I think, looking forward to enter the data space and also client-facing data space, because a lot of these companies are just data, and there is no client-facing opportunities. So I think for the listeners, the only key, what I understood is you just need to have the right intent to learn. If you have it right, I mean, MathCo would do anything and everything to make you that right amount of person. To put you forward in any client and drive the business from there.
In fact, I think learning does not stop at any level. Of course, it is a lot more required when you're starting your career, but then learning is something that has to happen at every stage of your career. So as long as you keep learning and evolving yourself, then you'll stay relevant in the market.
Got it. So intent to learn is the key.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So I think now, since I've understood, how do you build your pool, and how does that pool actually help you drive business? One major problem which I think a lot of companies have been struggling with is how do you retain them, right? So essentially attrition rate, people switching jobs for higher money or maybe a better job perspective. How do you make sure that you employ the right strategies, tactics to retain your employees, right?
Absolutely. So attrition is here to stay. There will always be attrition. But then how do you ensure that you retain your good talent? That's the question. So an organization, I think, which kind of focuses on retaining good talent in terms of mentorship, providing them the right opportunities, giving them visibility for the work that they do, and also caring for them. I think that's the key. In today's world, people, of course, compensation is important, but then people do look for an organization that actually cares for them, considers every milestone of their personal life as well, and kind of has provisions to accommodate for certain situations that might require an employee to kind of take some time off work. So if you're looking at your policies and processes that kind of accommodate these milestones or those circumstances, and an employee feels taken care of, then I guess that is the key to retain employees.
And I'm sure you must be at the forefront, while you have joined the organization, you would have considered this right from day one, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So just wanted to get an insight of, when you said companies care for employees, I think what are the 2-3, values or, care policies or policies for that matter, which you think, you guys have done really well and that kind of resonates with the employees as well?
Right. Now, burnout is real because in this fast-paced world, everyone faces burnout. Now, how does an organization kind of support an employee during that time of burnout? We introduced a policy called sabbatical leaves, which is a long duration, say 2 months, that an employee can avail to kind of just rejuvenate and get back.
Yes.
No questions asked, right? So that's something I think our employees really are appreciative of. And we've seen quite a few employees at all levels kind of avail of it and rejuvenate and get back. We also ensure our employees feel a sense of purpose. They're not only building the organization, but then we want employees with a little social responsibility to kind of feel like they're contributing to the society as well. So we have something called as time to give leave, which is once a quarter, which an employee can avail of to kind of be part of any voluntary activity. Wow. So these are some small steps. And then there are leaves for marriage, for bereavement. Our parental leave is a testament of our ever evolving policies. So we have like a good 30 days for anyone who's fathering a child. I'm saying fathering a child because this also applies to people who do not fall under the, the male-female gender category, but across the spectrum of, the LGBTQI, right? If they're fathering a child, then 30 days they can avail this in the first 6 months. And if someone is mothering a child, then 6 months plus an additional 2 months is what we kind of have to offer. So these are some policies that I'm really proud of.
Very amazing to hear them. I think time to give is something which is very unique. Right. I've never heard of something like that. And I think it's, if I do a reflection on that, it's a great opportunity for, letting your employees kind of be a part of that environment, the society they have been groomed in, right? So I think that's a fantastic initiative.
Thank you.
Very, very amazing. Also, Flory, just want to check on your personal journey, right? So you've been with the organization for 8 years, right? And of course, there must have been something which would have culturally or, by vision-wise or by mission-wise would have resonated really well with you. And hence, you have decided to be with the organization for 8 years and you're a happy employee. I mean,
right.
all the time, all the time we were discussing backstage, I think I could see so much pride in being, where you are and, how you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you can talk about your experience, like what actually struck with you, what actually resonated well with you, be it the founder's mission, vision, culture, anything on those lines, would be happy to know about it.
Yeah, when I started looking out after my long career break, when MathCo's interview came up and I met Shine, the CEO, during the interview, I was a little anxious about getting back into my career and what is expected of me. So I asked him, what exactly is my role, and if you can just help me understand. He just said one statement that made me so comfortable. It just put me at ease. He said, just take care of our people.
Wow.
So that kind of resonated with me, and I take that as my mission to this day. Whatever we do, I think that's what matters, to take care of people, right? We're here for that. So that's something that stuck on with me and has helped me through this journey.
Wow.
One example that I can give is the entire world was implementing RTO, return to office. So did we, but then the way we kind of went about doing it is a lot different from other organizations. We started out this effort last year, around say September. The first step was for us to reach out to employees one-on-one to inform them of this particular decision. But then we wanted to give our employees enough time to kind of settle down things at their personal front and then make the move. And then we kept talking to them, and we gave each employee enough time. Some of them a year, some of them 9 months, 1.5 years, whatever the time that they needed to settle things back home. Because some of them were taking care of old parents, parents who were unwell and things like that. So that's one thing that we did differently with the whole RTO in itself, whereas other companies kind of went the route of a little arm twisting, which we did not. So that kind of applies to every policy and process that we do.
No, I mean, that is so genuine and pure. I think taking care of people are so easy words, but I think in reality, how many people do actually mean that is a metric. I mean, people would want to know, right?
Absolutely.
And I think you have truly done justice to that, right? So I think whatever you mentioned right now is not very flexible out there in the market as well, right? I mean, there've been harsh measures, hard policies, stringent policies, measures, in terms of people returning to office.
Exactly.
And I think as a leader, you have done true justice to it. Ma'am, kudos to you for that.
I think it's also the team and the whole, co-founders' belief system, the value system that we kind of hold out here. I think it's just a translation of that.
Very amazing to know that. Want to check with you, how has been your leadership style changed or evolved over the past 8 years? And not even 8 years, I mean, there must have been a day one for you. And I'm very sure all of us remember our day ones, right? At work. Nervous kids, just I don't know what to do, right? That attitude to till date, right?
Right.
Of course, you would have seen a junior level, mid level. Now you're at the senior most level, right? So how has been your leadership style? How has been, your thinking style has changed? And I think that's something which a lot of listeners would also, kind of want to know that how does thinking of a leader changes as and when, they evolve in the system and over a period of time, basically.
Absolutely. So when I started out, I was nervous as to how this would pan out. So it was more me, inward focus, right? But then as time went by, I started becoming comfortable with the organization. I started thinking for the organization. When we started laying out policies, back then we were very small and a lot could be achieved with small things, right? The connectedness that you want employees to have with the organization can be easily achieved by getting like the 50, 100 people together and just throwing an event, right? But then with the scale, we are now 1,000 plus employees. So your thinking also has to change. It has to definitely evolve. Those things that worked previously will not work now. So in terms of promoting engagement and getting employees to kind of feel the same way towards the organization requires a lot of thinking, a lot of research work, a lot of experimentation. And one thing that I want to underline is MathCo supports a lot of experimentation, and there's room to make mistakes. That kind of gives me cushioning to make those mistakes. Correct. And still be okay with it. So I think in that fashion, we've kind of tried a lot of initiatives. We've kind of tried a lot of programs and things like that. Some of them failed, some of them have been successful. So we picked learnings from the things that kind of failed. And of course, we cheered ourselves with things that kind of were successful. And over a period of time, it is, we've definitely evolved. And as a leader, if you ask me, of course, there's clarity. There's a better understanding of what the younger generation wants, what our tenured employee, is seeking from the organization. And with that clarity, we're able to come up with, a lot of, benefits for employees.
No, I think that statement is true. It's so comforting, right? I mean, even if I'm an employee and if I understand the company values a cushion for mistake, right? It would put me in so much comfort, right? That, look, no one's judging me at all times, right?
Yeah.
While everyone wants a result, there is a room to experiment, there is a room to make mistake and learn from it, right? That's such a comfort statement for any employee. I think would be for any employee in the company, right? That way. Also, I'll take a step back. I think I asked you a question on the recruitment bit, right?
Right.
You mentioned there are 2-3 rounds, right? I think would also want to check anything. I mean, if a listener is listening to you and wants to be a part of the MathCo, while I understand intent is all, what it takes to be here.
Mhm.
Any special part about the process, or maybe, anything you would want to highlight about the process, that how do the 3 rounds mature? What is the first round like? What is the second round like? What is the third round like? If
Right.
you can just give a flavor on that.
Absolutely. Though we have, 3 rounds, there is a subject matter expert in the first 2 rounds, and the third round is HR round. But what is the subject matter expert actually gauging you on is the confidence.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we also understand as freshers that you are freshers. You don't have any hands-on experience on any of the technologies that you've mentioned there. Probably, some projects that you worked on, some internships that you might have done, but your understanding is limited. But how well you've imbibed whatever you've done, even though it might not be fully correct in terms of what that technology kind of has to offer. The confidence and the curiosity, asking the interviewers some questions on, I have this experience, but then I would like to know this. And the intent to join MathCo, how well you know about the organization, what is your research about the organization. And that is another thing that we kind of look for in interviews.
Understood. So confidence coupled with intent is what it takes to reach here. Awesome. So there's been a lot of debate around, or maybe a lot of talk around, that HR, AI is coming, right? This is coming, that is coming, this technology. So as a leader and as someone who's been in the industry, right, what is your take on the future of HR, right? And how do you see AI would complement you, or AI, but what is your take on AI, and what is your take on any emerging technology for that matter, right?
Yeah.
Just want to understand your take on the future of HR.
Absolutely. Now it is AI. In future, it could be another technology,
Yes.
just like how you mentioned. I feel AI is definitely here to complement, the spectrum of HR or any business spectrum, but especially for HR. My point of view is, as HRs, only you can add the human element into whatever you do. AI can, accelerate what you want to do with your expertise. But then only you can add the human element. So whatever we do, put the human first, right? So that's my point of view.
Got it. And so HR has always been like, the central function, like the backbone of any organization, because any organization is people organization at the end of the day. Right? Your product becomes secondary if your people are not right there, right?
Yeah.
So, just wanted to understand your side of story that, with Gen Z coming in, with so much newness coming in, and I'm sure this happens every decade, right? While I'm on this decade, I understand about Gen Z and my decade really well, but I think, this would happen every time. Like, do you always strategize for that as well? That, new kind of workforce coming, Gen Z aa rahe hain, they might have different mindset, and that actually is true on ground as well,
Absolutely,
right? So, as a team of someone whose primary job is to take care of people,
right?
How do you account for all of that, all of those changes, cultural changes, which keeps coming?
Absolutely. So, like I mentioned to another question, it is important to keep evolving.
Yep.
We kind of look at, our workplace, the entire, process, policies. We look around if something has to change. And if you see, we spoke about a lot of clubs and fun clubs and, clubs like CSR, clubs like D&I, where we kind of get, people of all levels to kind of contribute to the society as well. I feel as Gen Zs, they're very mature. That's my finding. At least, the people that I've interacted with, they know what they want from life. Back then, when we were young, I don't think we had that much clarity as what they have today. And that's something that I really, really appreciate of them. And they're very open about things that they like, and they're very open about things that they don't like. I appreciate that as well, that level of openness. So we give them the authority to come and talk to us. In fact, my team connects with people once a quarter to understand if there's a feedback for the organization, if they're comfortable within the organization. So through those one-on-one conversations, we are able to understand what is it that we need to implement next. So that becomes like a good foundation for us to understand the sentiment of the organization, the pulse, or what people are actually seeking from the organization. So that kind of is an input to everything that we do at MathCo. Yeah, so many of the initiatives have come because someone gave us an idea through those conversations.
No, so I think this is very interesting, having conversations with them and getting to implement those feedbacks and those ideas back into the system if they really matter.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is just a curious question on my part, right?
Mm-hmm.
I imagine there are 20 feedbacks which has come through. I just want to understand the process. What is the rationale behind
Picking
which of the feedbacks do really matter for you as an organization as well?
Right.
And then how do we implement them back into the system? Because there might be some feedback which has come which is totally against of what we were following for the past couple of 4-5 years, right?
Absolutely.
Then how do we tweak such changes in the system? How do we imbibe those?
Oh, that's a really good question, right? So we talk to all 1,000 employees in a quarter. So the team kind of has designated groups with whom they have to connect. So which means we're connecting with the entire organization every quarter. And to your earlier question of, how is AI kind of helping the HR spectrum, we have a platform, an AI-driven platform that kind of reaches out to employees as well at every tenure, 3 months, every 3 months, in fact. So through that platform as well, we kind of get a lot of insights. It throws up engagement scores, it throws up pulse of employees. What we kind of do is, like you mentioned, right, 20 feedbacks in 20 different directions. Yeah. We kind of look at the root cause. Now, people can feel different things with the same problem. You're going to hear 20 different versions of it. Now, as HRBPs, it is our job to kind of consolidate those feedbacks to that 1 or 2 root cause problems and fix that. Then you're going to help all these 20 people who are troubled by this 1 or 2 things.
Correct.
So that is what we kind of, do every quarter with all the inputs that we get.
Amazing. So I think problem solving is the core of all functions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I call my team problem solvers.
Yeah, so it's the core of all functions. No matter you are getting business or no matter you're fixing the people, it's the problem solving which is solving everything. Absolutely. Amazing. Very nice to know that. I think you also brought in a word called diversity and inclusion, and I personally believe in it, right? So I would also want to understand 2 things here, right? First is, what is the kind of diversity in the organization currently do you have in terms of, male, female split, right? And like, what are the different strategies, you would want to call out, you're taking particularly as a major to make sure this environment is very inclusive and very high on diversity.
Right. Yeah. So your one of the questions was, what is the ratio right now? So we're proud to say that it's at 41%, which we are proud of because we've come a long way from where we were. But then if you ask me, are you happy with it?
Yes.
No, definitely no. We are working towards a society where women are represented equally at all levels. And in that direction, we have certain initiatives where we mentor people. I wouldn't say only women, but there are people from the LGBTQ spectrum also who are part of the employee base.
Wow.
So we kind of mentor them, give them opportunities, and allow them a space for them to kind of thrive. So mentorship is one. We have dedicated programs that our learning and development team kind of has to offer for them to upskill and constantly be relevant in the market as well. So these are some things that we have in place.
Well, this is very, very pleasing to the ears, I mean, I love the fact that when you said, I'm not happy with the number of 41% as well. While that number is certainly like a huge number out in the market in terms of, how companies are placed. But I think if a leader has that kind of vision, that will certainly flow down the entire DNA of the company that way. Fantastic to know that. Also, just want to understand, there's a lot of talk around women in leadership, right? And everyone talks about it, right? But when it comes to the real numbers, right? I mean, there's very few women leaders who reach to the peak of their careers or the peak of the companies, right? You are being one of them, right? So just want to understand your take on this, and also any myths or any wrong news or any fake news you want to dismiss
Absolutely.
about being women not able to climb up there. I mean, just want to understand your take on the situation.
Absolutely. While I acknowledge the fact that as you get closer to senior levels or leadership levels, the representation is kind of bleak.
Yeah.
But then if you ask me if we've made progress in that front, I think we have. Generally across the industry, we've seen that women are getting to those leadership positions. Of late, I've seen a lot of posts that says a lot of women leaders have taken up CHRO roles. So you keep getting those feeds in LinkedIn and other news articles. So I do see the situation getting better, but then it could get it could become even more better. So
with the passage of time is what you're saying.
Absolutely. Now, any myths that I want to kind of want to talk about and correct is women kind of feeling that the society is against them. Maybe at certain places it is right, but then believe me that there are people who want to support you. It's just about finding that place, finding those people who are supportive of women. If you ask me, even in my experience, I've had bad experiences as well, where there's no room for a woman to speak up and there's no seat at the table. But then you've seen me and then you told me that I look like a happy employee, which means I have a seat at the table.
Right.
And I found my place. I found that group of people who are supportive of other women. So it's just about continuing to look for that place, for that group of people who are supportive. Don't give up. I think we all have a place in the society.
So I think that's a great message. I mean, there's always there someone to help you. You just need to find the right set of people who can, just be with you, support you at a difficult time as well. Guide you through as well. Yeah. Great lesson for any leader, any women leader who's listening to this and wants to climb to the peak of their life that way.
Yeah.
I think also since we are very close to the end of this podcast, and you've been all your life, before this in recruitment, right?
Yeah.
Executive search recruitment. And I think that's something a lot of listeners, when they listen to anything, right? Recruitment is the key, right? They have recruitment in somewhere in their heart. At the end of the day, job matters, right? For them.
Right.
So just want to understand, this was one of those bad years, right? Everywhere. I mean, we saw news of, everywhere there were news of low CTCs, people being unemployed, companies laying off, employees, revoking offers and all of that. Everything has happened this year, right? Any piece of advice you would want to give to, both set of people? First, who are in their final years, of colleges, right? Can't wait to explore the corporate world. What would you want to give them as an advice? For a bad year, of course. Good year, there's 100 people to give advice. Right? Bad year,
Right.
I would want you to give them an advice, or how do they prepare themselves? What are the two things they should keep in mind?
Right.
And also for people who have been laid off or people, who've been struggling to find like a good place at their work, right? An advice from you would I think do a magic to them. So
Sure.
What would you want to?
Yeah, for people who are still, pursuing education and are in the final year, do your best, get some good scores, because that's how you get shortlisted in the first place. But don't worry if you're not getting placed through your campus drives. Just hang in there, just keep upskilling and try to build your network through many professional, network platforms, and then keep trying and probably be visible as well. Give your opinion on those social media platforms to questions raised and things like. Be visible out there. Keep networking, and like I said, you will find your place. That's an advice to folks who are still, pursuing their education. Folks who have been laid off, I understand it's a tough place to be, but then it's okay. Everyone, it's a roller coaster. So right now you're in the, you're sloped down probably. You will definitely find a company that wants to hire you for who you are. So in the meantime, instead of just feeling despair, I would say upskill as much as you can. Get those certifications, put it up on social media, tell the world that you're acquiring, these new knowledge, and don't limit yourself to just one particular skill. In fact, I would suggest go as diverse as possible and get your hands on those projects, capstone projects. I guess a lot of learning platforms have to offer projects as well. So get your hands on them as well. Publish them on social media. Let people see what you're doing, and I guess someone will notice you. So
I think for all the folks who are in school, guys, scores do matter, right?
Absolutely.
You heard it right?
Absolutely.
And
that's the first bit of shortlisting that happens.
Scores do matter, right? And of course, I think while you brought a very nuanced part, which is how current generation or today's generation is making a lot of noise in the corporate, is picking up LinkedIn, picking up their sending out their opinions, and I think that's a great way to create noise in the system. And these days, so many founders are so much active on LinkedIn. I've also seen them personally commenting on posts that, hey, look, I want to chat with you, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a good way to be connected. But also want to understand from you, as an HRBP, what would impress you? If I have to impress you as a prospective employee looking for a job, what are the top 2 things, which will just catch your attention? Or maybe, 2 things, unique things a student or an employee should do who's seeking a job, irrespective of MathCo or any other company for that matter?
If you are applying to any organization, I would expect you as a candidate to know almost everything about that organization. Starting from, going through their website, recent news articles, reviews, and I encourage candidates to ask me questions. And when I see that a candidate does not have any question about the org, about where they're going to be joining, that's a red flag for me.
Yeah, there's a lack of intent.
Absolutely. That means that, okay, you're applying to 10 companies and we are one of them. Probably that's why you're not interested in us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, these are 2 things that I kind of look.
Understood. So, detailed research about the company and intent is essentially the key for you to get a crack or job that way. So, very fantastic. One more question which just hits my mind is HR is a central function, right? Which sits at the border of people and the business. Right? I mean, you guys have one arm in what people are doing, how people are feeling about it, and another arm is how is business coming, right? So, understanding that, right? It's a tough job, busy job, right? I mean, you are always on the ground, always understanding the sentiment, and of course, have to also marry that with the business part of it. So one thing which I'm very keen to know is, how do you make sure you are updated with industry trends? How do you make sure you take out time for your upskilling, right? Because in such a busy schedule, and of course there's family at the back as well. All of us have a family, work-life balance is being talked about.
Absolutely.
And it's a pyramid now, right? It's a 3-tier pyramid.
Absolutely.
Being at the center, how do you make sure you find time for your own upskilling? And then, making sure you are, because as a leader, you have to be ready at all times, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
I just want to understand your take on it. How do you do that?
Right. I don't believe in dedicating hours of a day or of a week into learning, but I think learning should happen every day, and that is why I dedicate 10-15 minutes of my day to just go through business articles or anything in the field of HR, because it is important that you stay updated, just like you mentioned, right? Not only stay updated, but then derive your own ideas from what you're reading, what you can apply to the organization, what suits the organization and your employees. So that's one thing that I do regularly. Every day, 10-15 minutes of read is what I lean on.
Understood. And any one resource which you have found the most useful over the years, where you can learn about emerging techniques, tools, or emerging trends in HR? Anything you would want the listeners or readers to know about this?
There's not one. I do subscribe to a lot of newsletters. So the news is actually flowing into my mailbox. It's just about glancing through and picking up what's relevant for you for that day. But I am hooked on to LinkedIn quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So LinkedIn has become very, very interesting.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I think I spend equal time on Instagram and LinkedIn every day. So it has certainly become like a very hooky platform that way.
Yeah. There are live experiences of people that come up. There is learning that can happen, articles and things like that. So
amazing.
That's something that I really enjoy.
Amazing. Very, very pleasing to know that. ठीक है, we are spending the same time on the same platform.
See you there.
All right. All right. It was great chatting with you, Flory. I think, your experience has been fantastic, nothing short of fantastic. And of course, your journey has also been like a path opener for so many people out there who always are skeptical around joining to, work after a break. Who think, having a break on this CV would be like a huge dent, right?
Mhm.
And I think, the more interesting part of it would be to make them know that there are people who are ready to accept you. You just need to be the right person, right? I mean, you just need to be the right person with the right skill set and right intent. And I think there's someone who can just back you and
Yeah.
accept you with arms wide open that way, right? So I think which is very amazing to know. And I think it was a great chat on also understanding, for a growing organization, like what are the different nuances, tools, techniques, strategies as an HR you apply and deploy to make them happy. I think give back leave. What was the leave?
Time to give.
Time to give leave was like the star show for me. I think
You're impressed by it.
I'm very impressed by it. I think that's a unique thing I've heard over in years, right? So again, thanks for taking out time, Flory. I think middle of the week, busy weekday, but you gave us time. Thank you so much for it. Thank you
My
so much.
pleasure. If it's going to help, some of the students or some of the women out there who are looking to get back into their careers, more than happy.
All right. Thank you.